Good Shabbos. Thank you for joining us. In just a moment, we're going to have a friend, Turia Stark. Some of you have already met Turia Stark by joining in for Alabama Community Virtual Havdalah. Light the Shabbos candles for us, along with us. That's the power of the modern age. As I mentioned before, I invite you to light Shabbat candles in your own home. Contact me if you're so interested. I'd love to have you light Shabbat candles. You can even record it on your smartphone. Send me a recording, and we will integrate that recording of your lighting Friday night candles in your home into the evening service. And in that way, we'll bring you into our shul. And it's the case for the Hamotzi as well, and perhaps the Friday night Kiddush. So, and now, Turia Stark of Auburn will light the candles for us.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu le'adlik ner shel
in his or her home might kindle candles, say the blessing, take a little video recording, and send it to me, and bring your light from your home into our shul, which in turn will go out into the community. What a powerful message that is. And in these days, these past 48 hours or more have been so dismally dark. We need light. We need your light and your hope shared with us all. We'll begin with the Shalom Aleichem. If you have a siddur, it's on page number 5. If you don't and you know the Shalom Aleichem, please just hum along. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, malachei shalom, malachei elyon, mi melech, malachei amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu l'shalom, malachei shalom, malachei elyon, mi melech, malachei amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, malachei shalom, malachei elyon, mi melech, malachei amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Over the past number of months, we've been sharing music. And tonight we're going to add a number of pieces to our service, one of which is familiar to you. It's from Debbie Friedman, "Those who sow in tears reap in joy." It's her modern take on a psalm from the Tanakh. There are 10 psalms in the Bible that are named Shir HaMa'alot, or Shir HaMalos, which means a song of ascending ever higher. And there's a perspective that these 10 psalms were sung by Leviim, Levi people, and each group of people stood on a step leading up to the temple, and then a next step, and a next step. And it may have been, although we don't know, that the people on the lowest step sang the first psalm, And the people in the next step saying the next psalm, and so on for these 10 psalms. And one phrase in this psalm speaks of being in the Negev. And we all know the Negev, a dry desert that has no sustenance. Being in the Negev and planting and reaping and being blessed with sustenance and confidence. Shir HaMalot is a song of hope. It's a religious poem saying that how we are now in an experience of being in the desert is only temporary. But by living together under the principles of tzedek, of caring and of love and of chesed, and working together and seeing God as our source, we will make the desert bloom. That's Shir HaMalot. It's a song of hope. Kabbalat Shabbat means to receive Shabbat. We've been receiving or welcoming Shabbat for 500 years by singing poems, psalms. The traditional opening of Kabbalat Shabbat these past 5 centuries is L'chuna Ranana. It's on page 11. It means, come on, let's all be happy together by singing together. L'chuna Ranana l'Adonai, Nariya letzur yishenu, Nikadma fana b'toda, Bizmirot nariyalo, Nikadma fana b'toda, Bizmirot nariyalo. Kiel gadol Adonai, Umelech gadol al kol Elohim, Asher b'yado mekarei aretz, V'toaf otarim lo, Asher b'yado mekarei aretz, V'toaf otarim lo. The English on page 12. If only you would listen today to God's voice and not become hard-hearted like the people at Meribah, like that time at Massah in the desert, when your ancestors tried me and tested me, though they had seen what I had wrought. I wonder what it was that tried and tested God while the people were wandering in the wilderness. From the strict traditional point of view, by understanding the book of Exodus and the book of Numbers, it was that the people of Israel, who were supposed to go immediately into the promised land from Sinai, had disrespected God. They had doubted God, and they'd said, we can't go into the land. The Canaanite inhabitants are too powerful for us. And somebody even said, let's go back to Egypt and voluntarily become slaves. And that's the normal way of understanding, the traditional way of teaching why the people ended up wandering the wilderness for 40 years. But tonight, I, like you, these past 2 days have been shaken to my core. And I wonder if instead we might offer a different, slightly sermonic interpretation of what it means to be hard-hearted. Perhaps it means to be of a certain nature that you reject everyone who may be different than yourself. God created all of us, and each and every one of us is different. When we reject people who are not like us, when we point at others and say they're other, in effect we are rejecting God's creativity. Arbrim shakut vador v'amarm to levavhem v'hem loidu drachai asher nishpati v'api im yavon el menuchati. And typically we sing some psalms, but tonight I'm bringing a different song. It's a modern piece. It's not a psalm. It's a song.
Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom. Circle round for peace. For all of us imprisoned. Circle for release. Circle for the planet. Circle for each soul. For the children of our children, keep the circle whole. Circle round circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole, circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole.
The last stanza of Psalm 97 calls out to me. Or Zerulah Tzaddik, light is placed here for the righteous, and joy for the upright. Think of how light first came into the universe. As described in the Torah, God said, let there be light, because the universe was bedlam. And there needed to be light. And light was the first step in order and beauty, and then safety and security. And now here this psalm on Friday night says, Or Zerulah Tzaddik, Simcha. Light is brought forth for the righteous, and joy is brought for the upright. Rejoice in Adonai, you righteous people, and thank God as you pronounce the divine holy name. The psalm, which is found in the siddur but taken from the Bible, is confident that you and I are righteous. It labels us as righteous people. May you and I aspire to be righteous, as the phrase from the Bible contained within the siddur already asserts. And now continuing with Psalms, again a bit of personal prerogative. Turia Stark is with us once more, and she's singing Esa Einai El Heharim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri. I lift my eyes to the hills and to the mountains, from whence cometh my help. In times such as these, we need to look beyond ourselves, and we need to know that there is something grander, the grandest of all things, the grandest of all realities and beyond. And that's what we say Adonai is. And Adonai joins with us. And that's why Turia is singing Esa Einai tonight. And those of you who have not been with us for Havdalah have never met Turia, but those of you who join us for Havdalah know Turia well. And again, Havdalah tomorrow night at 7 on Zoom. If you have any questions, contact me. For now, Turia Stark.
Esa Einai El Heharim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri. Esa Einai El Heharim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri. Name Adonai, Oseh Shamayim va'aretz, Ezri. Name Adonai, Oseh Shamayim va'aretz. I lift up my eyes unto the mountains, from where will my help come? I lift up my eyes unto the mountains, from where will my help
And you know, of course, that this is the siddur, and it's Friday night. And traditionally, we sing psalms leading up to L'Chadodi, and then we have the psalm for Shabbat and the Borchu. But again, I'm still shaking from what I saw with the riot on and within the Capitol. And I need a sense of being reassured. And so I'm taking a prayer that many of us know very well out of the high holiday prayer service, out of the Machzor. It's the Hayom Ta'amtzenu. And this is a melody from Craig Taubman. Ta'amtzenu means, oh God, today make us strong. Hayom Tivarchenu, oh God, today bless us. Hayom Tigadlenu, oh God, today make us greater. Not greater in terms of musculature, not greater in terms of being smart, but greater in terms of being blessed and caring and able to be comforted and able to comfort others. That's Hayom Ta'amtzenu Tivarchenu Tigadlenu. And it is a new year. And every single one of us needs these blessings.
Hey dai 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 dai. Hey dai 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 dai. Hey dai dai dai. Hey dai 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 dai. Hayom Te'amseinu hayom Tevarchenu hayom Tegadleinu Amen. Hayom Te'amseinu hayom Tevarchenu hayom Tegadleinu Amen. Hayom tidrashenu letova Hayom tichtavenu lechaim tovim Hayom tishma shavatenu Amen. Hayom Te'amseinu hayom Tevarchenu hayom Tegadleinu Amen. Hayom tekabel berachamim uvratzon et tefilatenu Hayom titmechenu bimitzitkecha Amen. Hayom Te'amseinu hayom Tevarchenu hayom Tegadleinu Amen. Hayom Te'amseinu hayom Tevarchenu hayom Tegadleinu Amen.
And now on L'Chadodi, on page 23, the first two stanzas, and page 25, the last two stanzas. Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad hishmiyanu el hamyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem tiferet v'lithilah. Lecha dodi lekrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi lekrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Lekrat Shabbat lechuvenelcha ki makor habaracha merosh mikedem nisucha sof maaseh b'machshavat chila. Lecha dodi lekrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi lekrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Yamin osma tifrotzi v'et Adonai ta'aritzi al yadish ben partzi v'nesmecha v'nagila. Lecha dodi lekrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi lekrat kala. We rise penei Shabbat nekabela, facing our own doorways for Boi. Shabbat's coming in, facing your own door. Boi v'shalom ateret balach gam b'simcha u'v'tzahala toch emunei am sgula. Boi chala lecha dodi lekrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi lekrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Remaining standing on page number 28. It's the last stanza of the Hebrew Tzadik Katamar, and it's also found in the transliteration, the bottom of page 28. A righteous person will be as rooted firmly as a date palm, as a lovely, beautiful tree that gives shade and gives fruit. A righteous person will be as statuesque and majestic as a cedar on the heights of Lebanon in the northern part of the ancient part of Israel. By the way, Lebanon in ancient Hebrew referred to the northern part of Israel and later became Lebanon in English. Tzadik katamar yifrach kerez balavanon yiske shetulim bebeit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu od yenovon beseva. Deshenim verananim yeyu lehagid ki ashar Adonai tzuri v'lo avlatabo. We rise for the Borchu on page 39a, and as you're rising, just again, a little reminder, because some people are starting to get the vaccine. And if you are able to get the vaccine, when you walk into that office, whether it's a hospital office or a doctor's office or a clinic or some other organization or location, and you roll up your sleeve and you get that injection, please say the Shehechianu. And remember what the Shehechianu means. Shehechianu, for you, O God, have kept us alive. V'kiyimanu, and preserved us. V'higianu, and brought us, lazman hazeh, to this special occasion. And in light of having lost so many of our people, 300 and more, 30,000 more of us, anytime any one of us has the bracha available to receive that vaccination, has to stop and say, it is a blessing, a bracha, to be here on this occasion. And tell your friends. And now the Borchu on page 39a. Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach. Baruch Adonai hamavorach l'olam v'ed. As we recited the first bracha on page 39a, Baruch atah Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's division, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rolls light before darkness and darkness from light, who makes day pass into night, who distinguishes day from night. Adonai Tzvaot is your name, living and ever-present God. May your rule be with us forever and ever. Baruch atah Adonai, who brings each evening's dusk. El chai v'kayom, tamidim l'chalein olam v'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim. The Ahavat Olam on page 40 on the English side. With timeless love, you have loved your people, the house of Israel. You have taught us Torah and mitzvot, statutes and laws. Therefore, Adonai, our God, as we lie down and as we rise up, we shall speak of your laws, rejoicing in the words of your Torah and in your mitzvot forever and ever. For they are our life and the fullness of our days, and on them we shall meditate day and night. Do not ever withdraw your love from us. Baruch atah Adonai, who loves the people Israel. Va'avatecha tasir mimenu l'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. On page 41. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'avta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'hayo hadavarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzaveka hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'beitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech u'v'shachbecha v'kumecha u'kishartam lot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein enecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'v'sharecha. Moment of silence on page number 42. Adonai Elohechem emet. On page 44, the English side, the Michamocha. Then Moses, Miriam, and the people Israel joyfully sang to you, O God, Umalchuto beratzon kiblu aleim, Moshe u'Miriam u'vnei Yisrael, lecha anu shira, B'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam, Who is like you, Adonai, among the mighty? Who is like you, adorned in holiness, revered in praise, working wonders? Mi chamocha poelim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, no ratilot osefele. Your children recognized your sovereignty as you split the sea before Moses. This is my God, they responded and said. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Malchutecha ra'u v'anecha, bokeh yom lifnei Moshe, zeli anu v'yamro, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. And so it is written, Adonai has rescued Jacob and redeemed him from the hand of those more powerful than he. Baruch Adonai, who redeemed the people Israel. God has rescued Jacob and redeemed him from the hand of those more powerful than he. If we only understood life in terms of this person is strong, then there will come along another person who's stronger. Or these two people are very strong. There'll come along another group of 3 or 5 or 20. Or if this village is very strong, then that city is much stronger. If we only think of might in a physical way, then we automatically realize that there are limitations. And there's no true grandeur, because any one or any ones can be replaced. So we need to go past the understanding of might as being something of a quantity or magnitude, and look instead for might to be defined as a loving power, power of kindness, power of creativity, power of rachmanis, compassion. And for the record, that's how I understand the second bracha of the Amidah. People used to sing it, Mechaye meitim berachamim rabim. But if you look at words carefully, you realize that the power of God comes forth in compassion and in caring. And we are to learn a lesson from that. On page 45, now more than ever we need the Hashkivenu, O God. It's the lower half of the top of page 45. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings. For you, God, watch over and deliver us. And you, God, are sovereign, merciful, and compassionate. Ensure our going and our coming for life and peace now and forever. May you spread over us your canopy of peace. Baruch Adonai, who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people of Israel, and over Jerusalem. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, Baruch Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Page 46. V'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam barit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, ot hi leolam, ot hi leolam, ot hi leolam. V'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam barit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et ha'aretz v'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam barit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, V'shamro Bnei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam barit olam. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'almad yibrachot b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, bagala bagala uv'izman kariv v'imero amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach la'olam u'lyolmei olmaya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitramam v'yinaseh v'yidhadar v'yidaleh v'yidhalal shemei dekudesha b'richu le'la mikor b'chata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran ba'olma v'imero amen. If so able, you're invited to rise at this time to offer a silent prayer. The traditional text from page 47 to 52, or you can compose your own prayer. And in the times that we've been experiencing just these past two days, 2.5 days, we realize how important it is to pray, to focus ourselves on a true core value, the value of justice, of honor, of loyalty, of abiding by law, of living within a community and not seeing oneself as authorized to break the bonds and the bounds of a community. We rise in silent prayer. And now we conclude with Oseh Shalom.
Oseh Shalom bimrama Uyaseh Shalom Shalom Aleinu Ve'al kol Yisrael הלב עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. ואמרו אמן, אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עושה שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. ואמרו אמן, אמן.
And now full Kaddish on page number 54. Yitkaral v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Amen. Be'alma d'chseim b'toru, Amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevarach, L'olam l'yal me'al maya, Yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitmaseh v'da'la v'da'la shmei kudashah b'rechu, Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiram b'yalma v'imaro, Amen. תתקבל שלימרו, אמן, שלימרו, אמן, עושה שלום ברמוה ויעשה שלום, עלינו כשלימרו, amen. I first fell in love with Washington, D.C. when I was about 8 or 9. My parents had taken my brother and sister and me on a trip. And I remember going through at the time the White House, and we walked all throughout, and we went and we saw all the monuments. And I was always transfixed by the Capitol, that enormous dome. And I remember the statues. I didn't know that it was called Statuary Hall, but I remember the statues. The Library of Congress, seeing the actual Constitution before my eyes. History was alive, and over these past decades, I visited D.C. many times. And in my mind, I see many similarities between Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh, Jerusalem, the holy city, and D.C. When I was a junior in high school, I had the opportunity of being a senator's intern from then Arizona Senator Dennis DeGincini of the Conservative Republican Party. And I was in his office every day, researching and writing letters to constituents, and occasionally going to the Library of Congress, or delivering inter-office mail through the tunnels, and yes, there's a small subway connecting certain buildings from one to the next. And I was proud of the fact that I knew many of the inner workings of the Hill. It's always been within my heart as a place representing the greatest ideals of justice and law, justice and public order for the good of the nation. And when I saw 2 days ago hordes of brutish people taking it into their mind that they had the right to break into the Capitol and to defame our center of our national identity for 200 years. I was outraged. I was hurt deeply beyond description. And I remember standing there at one point for quite some time when I was first watching the news, standing in my family room watching the television. And then later we took a break and we had dinner. I had to take care of some errands. And then late at night, Minette and Danique went to sleep close to midnight. And I remember standing there watching the news. And I was standing still, literally, until 2:30 in the morning. And it occurred to me while I was watching the news and seeing the details and the images played over and over again, and then the live shots as the senators and congressmen began to come back into the House, that the last time that I had stood stock still, immobilized in my own family room watching the news was on September 11th, when I was paralyzed, and I literally couldn't break away from television long enough to back away from the TV and sit down on a seat. And all that went through my mind, and I wasn't ready to go to sleep. And then at about 1:30 a.m., between 1:30 and 1:45 or so, senators and congressmen walked into the Senate chamber, and they held 2 boxes. And with pomp and circumstance, they carried these boxes up to the dais. And these were literally the boxes into which had been placed the paperwork in files and manila envelopes of the Electoral College. And thankfully, some people had had the presence of mind of taking the Electoral College votes in 2 small trunks with them when they evacuated from the building, because if those Electoral College votes had been left, when brutes and thugs came in and it began to trash the chamber, who knows what might have happened to those electoral votes? And who's to say what would be the nature of our society, of our government? But I saw with my own eyes as these 2 trunks were carried back in, and then one by one each file was lifted up. It was a manila folder or a file or a large envelope. And Vice President Pence began to read the names of each state, and he picked up with Rhode Island, which tells me that evidently at the earlier stage of the deliberation, before the mobs had broken in and they needed to be evacuated, they had already been making their way through the alphabet. And very slowly, using the exact same formula, he said, "And now I present the electoral results from the state of Florida with the exhibits attached hereto," and he would present them to a senator or a congressman who would read the number of votes, and then that senator or congressman would present that sheaf of paper to someone on the side who would record it and place it in another bin. And then South Carolina, I hereby present the recording of the votes of the Electoral College for South Carolina. And then someone would read the tally and present them to somebody on the side. And if this had been a normal season, if any of you has ever watched C-SPAN and you see some of the paperwork that tends to be monotonous, you and I would have said, "Oh," and turned it off. But at 1:30 in the morning, at 2 a.m., 12 hours after the beginning of the Electoral College results had begun to be certified, and then our senators and congressmen had to evacuate for fear of their lives, I was seeing in front of me the confirmation of what had been an interruption of the Electoral College report. And I was seeing with my own eyes the continuation of the process that came forth from 130 years ago. And it occurred to me that as beautiful and as magnificent as a building is, it's only a building. But what matters, what is the heart and the soul of our nation, is our people. And those legislators, and many of them I disagree with on many issues, were standing there refusing to renounce their and our shared responsibility to fulfill the judicial and legal and constitutional procedures that have kept our nation in force and in vitality and in life. And time and again, those reports were announced, Wisconsin, and through the entire tally. And then we saw on the screen the number of recorded votes for the Electoral College confirmed for Senator Biden, Kamala Harris, and for Trump and Vice President Pence. And it was very clear to me and very evident that if indeed the building had been rent asunder, it would only be a building of brick and stone and attractive marble and statues that have been knocked over. But the true essence of our community is where people gather. And the senators and congressmen would have gathered in some other place, and they would have confirmed and ratified the Electoral College protocol as is necessary. And our society and our structure, which as a model is the grandest throughout the entire world, would have continued. So even as I'm still in great pain over what those wicked and cruel people had done at the instigation of a president who put forth an incendiary message, and for that he will never be forgiven. For that incendiary message threatens the core of who we are as a people, and it was unconscionable. But in spite of that, we still possess the seed, the essence of representation for a republic. And at this point, we all must pray. We all must share our energy and our resolve to continue to strengthen each in his or her own way, our nation and our society. And we must learn to express our opinions which may differ from our neighbors in mature and adult manners so that we can instruct other leaders in the future in the manner of menschlich voice and argument. It's up to us to set an example for everyone. I ask you, by the way, tomorrow to join me at Shul, take a turn, come by the Shul. Services will be online, but from 11:30 to 12:30, I'll be outside with a mask on. And I'm asking you to come by and take a few minutes in the parking lot and pray with me. And those of you who do come tomorrow morning, wear a mask, we'll stand outside, but we need you, we need each other. And an email went out earlier with a suggestion for a prayer, but you're all intelligent, you're all loving, you're all creative. You know what to say and how to pray for our nation and for our society. May God be with you, and may you know how vital you are to my life and to our world. And now we make Kiddush. In the siddur on page 55. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam Borei Puri HaGofen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam. Asher kitshana b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kodsho b'yava uvratzon inchilanu. Zikaron l'maseh v'reshit. Ki hu yom techila l'mikra'ei kodesh. Zecher litziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'acharta v'yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha v'yahava uv'ratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Hamotzi and then the Aleinu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Aleinu on page 56. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakom latet gedula liotzer breishit. Shelo asanu k'goyei ha'aratzot v'lo samanu k'mishpachot adama. Shelo sam chelkeinu kahem v'goraleinu kechol hamonam. V'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim Lifnei melech malchei amlachim hakadosh baruch hu shehu noteh shamayim v'yosei haaretz u'moshav yekaro b'shamayim mimal u'shchinatu zo v'gavei meromim hu Eloheinu ein od. Emet malkeinu evesulato kakatu b'torato yadata yom v'shevota elevavecha ki Adonai hu Elohim b'shamayim mimal v'al haaretz mitachat ein od. Karkatu b'toratecha Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'nemar v'haya Adonai le'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yihiyeh Adonai echad U'shemo echad. And now Kaddish, if you have the siddur, Kaddish will be on page number 58. And in this Shabbat we remember with great love Morris Olinsky, Jacob Kramer, Joe Lava, Ralph Weed, Howard Malkov, Herman Collette, Fanny Silverstein, Samuel Leventhal, Bernice Davidoff, Lena Mitchell, Norman Ratner, Sam Williams, Martin Grodnick, Kenneth Sherman, David Grishman, Moody Grishman, Frida Buckman, Grace Friedman, Celia Olinsky, Lena Rosenberg. We mark with sadness the recent loss of our longtime shul member and friend Jerry Olinsky, who was just buried a couple days ago. And we extend our prayers and our love to Jerry Olinsky's family And I also mentioned that Jan Friedlander of the temple died just a couple days ago, and temple rabbi is out of town. And so I was able to support the family and conduct the funeral this morning. And if you know Jan Friedlander, you'd like to extend condolences to the family, please reach out to Donnie or Donnie Friedlander, Emily Fink. Mourner's Kaddish is on page number 58. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba. Amen. Ba'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute. V'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'meru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabba mivarach la'alam u'lalmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitdaleh v'yithalal shmei dekudesha brichu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran ba'olma v'meru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim oleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'meru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'meru. Amen. A couple of reminders and then we'll conclude. Of course, Shabbat morning services tomorrow, 10 to 11, 11:15, 11:30 to 12:30. I'll be here just outside the front portico. I'll be wearing my mask. But I need you to come by just for a minute or two, or maybe stay for a few minutes. Feel free. Wearing a mask will be outside, but we need to pray together. And as many can come as possible between 11:30 and 12:30, I'll be here. Tomorrow night, Havdalah is on Zoom. If you don't have the information, contact me maybe about 6:15 or so, and I'll be able to get you the login information. That's for tomorrow night at 7. Sunday morning, religious school is on Zoom at 9:30 to 11 a.m. Monday, Tanakh study is on Zoom, and story time for toddlers, Monday evening at 5:30. The Tuesday Spirit Series, 5 o'clock on Zoom. Why do we light candles to remember people who died, whom we love? That's the Spirit topic on Tuesday the 12th. And we'll conclude with Sim Shalom, because we need to put peace into our world. And each one of us has to do that in addition to God. Sim, sim, sim shalom, sim shalom tova uvracha. Sim, sim, sim shalom tova uvracha. Kivi arpanecha natata lanu Adonai Eloheinu Torat chayim v'ahavat chesed v'tzedakah uvracha v'rachamim v'chayim v'shalom. Sim, sim, sim shalom. Sim shalom tova uvracha. Sim, sim, sim shalom tova uvracha. V'tov b'necha lavarech et amacha et amcha Yisrael b'chol eit uv'chol shah b'shlomecha. Yada sim, sim, sim shalom. Sim shalom tova uvracha. Sim, sim, sim shalom tova uvracha. Until we see each other again, until we daven together again, Litrod, may God bless you.